Good morning. It's Dr. J. Faber from the Amen Clinic. It's very bright and very early here in Southern California. And I thought I'd share a few ideas that I've thought about over the last couple of days. I was initially going to do a video for parents on how to help your kids survive, how to help your team survive through having to stay in the house and what activities you can do and how to stay content and how to stay peaceful. And I thought, you know what? There's so much what to do and how to do it, but there's not much on why are we doing this and how can we make an impact. So I'm going to take a completely different spin on this, walk you through some things that will hopefully be helpful to your kids, but I also help is hopeful to you as we all kind of go on this sort of very difficult and trying journey with each other. So I'm going to share my screen with you first of all. And I'm hoping this works, and I'll know in a second. It is now sharing, and I'm going to do something if I can, I am going to go to a website on Google, and I'm going to type in Johns Hopkins Corona Map Argus. Okay, you can see it here on the screen, and I'm doing this so I can walk you through. We're going to go to Johns Hopkins University and look at their ARCGIS, ARCGIS map. Now, this is a real-time metrics map on what's going on with coronavirus throughout the world. Now, I'm going to go walk through some ideas that you might want to look at yourself, but also go through with your kids or your teens so they can make some sense of it. This is a coronavirus map. It's what we call transactional daily. It's even more than daily metrics that gives us up-to-date information about the coronavirus and what's going on. So as of 3/22/2020, 6:43 a.m. Eastern time, which would put us at about 3:40 California time, here's where the virus stands. Now, we're going to do a few things. One, we can look at the top. We've had 311,989 cases with a total number of deaths equaling 13,407. So that many people have unfortunately passed away. If we go through this, and let's just play with the numbers, I'm going to go take 13,407, and we're going to divide it by 311,989. This is going to be the percent of people who've unfortunately passed away, otherwise in medical terms called the mortality rate. So we're going to use some professional words here as well. So what this means here is 0.0429. So 4.3% of people who've contacted this virus throughout the world have passed away. Okay, and so what we want to see is what numbers are elsewhere as well. So that's the world. What about the countries? Okay, so if we look at Italy, we've had a total of 4,825 deaths and about 53,578 people, or 53,578 people have contracted the illness. If we look at the mortality rate, I'm not going to do it on my calculator. I want to save that for some other time. But about 9% of people in Italy who've got this virus have passed away. Huge, wow number. That's twice as high as the country. Now, that said, let's take it kind of closer to home. What about the U.S.? In the U.S., we've had 26,747 confirmed cases of coronavirus with 340 people who've unfortunately passed away. Now, if I take my calculator out again, and somehow it went down, so I'm going to go fast here. Quick, pull it up. It's all about speed right now, getting this out. 340, unfortunately, people passed away divided by 26,747. We get a total of, 0.127. So 1.3% of people in this country who have got the illness have passed away. Okay, so better than 4, but it's a lot of people, and we're early on with this illness. Now, let's take this one step further. We can go from our country to looking at specific states in our country. So on top here, we can see the state with the most cases, and it goes all the way to the states with the least cases. So who has the most cases? New York State. Why is New York State on lockdown? Well, this is why. Now, let's take a look here. This is where things can start to get maybe a little more interesting. if there isn't interesting in this. In New York, they've had a total of 12,315 cases with 76 people who've passed away. If we calculate the mortality rate, look at this, we're going to go 76 divided by 12,315, and we get 8% of 0.006 people. So it's 0.6%. This is half our country's rate. It's about 15 times less than that rate that is occurring or has occurred in Italy. Now, what is going on? Because this is a lot lower, okay? And it is showing at least some encouraging signs, possibly. So one, why is this number lower? One is the denominator, the 12,315 cases. Maybe New York's got more diagnostic kits. Maybe the cities and the state is more sensitive because there's a lot more travel from Europe that's come here. So there's that piece, but also there's been some interesting discoveries this week. There's been a lot of work on chloroquinone and hydroxyquinone, and they're starting to use it. And has this had some impact on the state of New York? We're going to watch closely, okay? And if I was watching the news, this is where I'd be seeing where they could be going. And U.S. people, I'd be questioning what is it and why is New York lower? Now, so that's New York, okay? Now, I'm from California, so of course, I'm curious where we are in California. In California, we've had 1,470 cases confirmed with a total of 27 deaths. Now, if I get my calculator out, and we're going to do this hopefully quickly, 27 cases divided by 1,470. The mortality rate is, wow, 1.8%. So this is 3 times higher than New York is right now. Okay, so let me throw out another couple ideas with this number. California is now on lockdown as well. And the governor of California, and I think it makes sense, the state predicted that 56% of its people are going to have this virus within them. So let's do some numbers with that and see what we get, okay? We have in the California 40 million people living. If we have 56%, oh, by the way, isn't this more practical math? Doesn't this make more sense of how we can use math in our real lives? But if we take that and multiply by 0.56, 56% of the population, 22,400,000 people are projected to get the coronavirus in California. Lots of people. Now, if we take that number and say that 1.8% of people will pass away, we will multiply times 0.018, and we get a total of, wow, okay. We have a potential of having 403,200 people in the state of California passing away from this virus. This is a huge, huge number. Now, why are we doing the precautionary measures in the state of California, and for that matter, the United States? Do you as a citizen want to see this number of people pass away when in fact we could actually do something about it? Now, okay, so I'm playing with the numbers with you, and this is all real-time data. What does this mean to you, and how can you use this within your family to make a difference and an impact? I'd say just that we do 3 things. One is calculate some mortality rates. One, I'd calculate it for your state. Go through your own personal state and look what the mortality rate currently is and start getting in a sense of just how much of an impact this virus can have. Then calculate the mortality rate for another state like California, or look at New York, but start asking some questions by looking at those numbers. And then 3, look at the rate for a different country. Now, when we do that for a different country, like Italy, we're going to see some pretty sharp and high numbers. Once we have those numbers, this is what I suggest we do. And I'm going to put us off stop share, and you're going to unfortunately have to look at me because I've got some things I think are really important that might be helpful for your family. Given that we now know the mortality rates and some of the numbers, how could your kids And I think also, how could you as a parent make an impact? What can you do? What can your kids do to demonstrate and show that we're not going to take these numbers and accept them? We want to see them get lower, and we want to see them get better. So what and how can we do something here to make a difference? Okay, third and finally, I'd say this. How can you and your kids do a shout out to somebody in a different country, to somebody who lives in a completely different place than ourselves, where they're really suffering? Italy, Iran, China. Okay, forget the government issues. Let's kind of put that to the side and really offer some hope and some encouragement. Is what can we do to help and impact? I mean, look at the numbers in New York. Hey, what if you have a relative in Iran? Okay, what if you shared this site with them and said, hey, you might want to look at this. New York, something's going on. You might want to tell your doctor in Iran that there seems to be lower rates. Maybe that doctor in Iran will call their government, or if the government won't respond, is look at the National Institute of Health in the US and figure out some ways that we as a country and a world can make some impact. We've been living in a lot of fear, and we've been living in a lot of emotional intensity for the last week. I would like to say the following. Continue to be strong. Continue to be resilient. And most important from our talk today, continue to use and discover transactional metrics and become cutting edge smart on how you can use them to make an impact for you, your family, your community, your state, your country, and maybe, just maybe, for the world. Let's all become impact players and make a difference so that we can cut this virus down and make this world get back to where it was and stand on its past feet. God bless you and have a happy Sunday.